All right, it's Wednesday, so we're going to work on the Unit 6 discussion stuff today. Um, I think in on Monday we went through this. We started talking about for loops and did some different types of for loops for this. Um, and looked at the basics there. So we're going to continue working on for loops and put a for loop inside a for loop for this. We did work a little bit on this pair programming activity where you worked on different for loops and compared them to while loops and stuff. Uh, if you want to continue working on that today, you can, but I'm not going to dedicate any more class time to it. It's also an activity that's good as we, in a couple weeks, as we prepare for the review for the exam there. Again, and that's something you don't need to turn in or submit. That's just a learning activity. So, uh, but the today's stuff is part of the discussion, and you do have to post something to discussion for this sort of stuff. That's what we're going to look at today. There is a guessing game example out here that Chris records. It just walks through the guessing game with some loops for that. So there's also a golf score game here with loops. And then we'll do some review and stuff on Friday. I think we'll also look at this kind of a little bit about strings and working with loops with strings a little bit on Friday, just as a precursor of some stuff we might see later there. Um, we have basically just two more units here, or I mean, next unit we'll do methods. Well, actually, maybe I might broach that topic today as we get into things. So we'll talk about methods here. And then Unit 8 we'll do the midterm. Next week, I'll post some review topics for the midterm, and then we'll do some in-class review. One of the challenges we have with programming is it's very sequential in that, you can't really, like today, we're going to be using for loops to print out things. Well, if you don't remember the difference between a print and a print line from, I don't know, like the second day of class or something like that, you're gonna struggle today because that's a lot of it is just when to use a print, when to use a print line, and what are the differences are. So again, a lot of it builds on each other there. So one of the goals of this, the midterm, is simply to just stop and make sure, kind of review, make sure we're caught up on everything, that everything kind of makes sense before we go on there. So, okay, so let's go to the discussion here. We're going to try to print off some diamonds. In a perfect world, you'd get to this point where you'd be able to say, I want to print off 3 diamonds, and it would print off 3 diamonds like this here. But that is challenging. So we're going to try to break it up into parts, see if we can eventually print 1 diamond, or even the top half of a diamond, or even a triangle, a quarter of a diamond sort of stuff. We're going to start working on that. The idea is that we can print it of any size. So if we want a diamond of size like 4, it would print that out. So we could enter a size and it would do it. Because again, if it's just a matter of printing this out, this is just a bunch of print statements. That's not hard. But if we want to change, we'll say, okay, do this, what we want, each row to be, the maximum row to be this size or this size, and then print it out. That's a little more interesting for this. So we're going to get started. I'm going to, I think, have you work individually on this because you're going to be posting stuff online. So step 1 is just to create a Java program that prints out the stars, 5 stars here. So again, just go do your new project. Unit 6. You might be thinking, Tom, can I just print this out like this? And it prints out 5 stars, but we're going to want to be able to change the number of this. So rather than doing it this way, we want you to change this to do a print and just print out 1 star here. And then put this in a loop to print out 5 stars. So can you put this in a for loop to print out 5 stars here? And again, I switched this from a print to a print line to a print. So see if we can do that. And then the next step is to modify your code, ask the user to enter a number, and then print out as many stars as the user enters. So see if you can work on that. I'll let you work on that a little bit. So again, the next step, or step 1.5, is to modify your code so the user enters an integer and prints out that many stars. So here's my loop for printing out 5 stars. Now I want to modify this so it prints out, I want to change this. So rather than always doing 5 stars, I put some variable in there and I ask the user how many stars and put it in there. So that'll be your next job for this. I also like to put in I don't like where it says my 5 stars that says build successful after that. So I always like to put a little print line at the end here. So I print out all the stars and I do a print line because then it prints out the stars and then goes to the next line. So that build successful is on the next line. But yeah, see if you can do that. If you get that done, see if you can print off this square. So again, we do this and then we're going to do that a bunch of times here. Now it might say 5x5 box, but we actually want this to be where whatever the user enters here would be nice. So if they entered 5, it would print out a 5x5 box. So see if you can get that to work. So I added a scanner to mine. How many stars do you want? Redden that into max stars here. And then I'm starting my loop. But now if I run this and I say, how many stars do you want? I say, I want 12 stars. It still only prints out 5 stars. But to make sure I change my loop here, so I my counter going from 0, counter less than or equal to 5. I'm still hard coding 5 in there. I want to make sure I don't. I want to use, if I want 5 stars, I want to use that. Now I might have to watch. Sometimes you have to make maybe, do I want count less than or equal to or what? Depending on how, if you're starting at 1 or 0, we've talked, you might have some different things. So let's just try that out. I'm going to want 6 stars. Well, let's start 3 stars so I can count them a little easier. 1, 2, 3. So that looks like it'll work out okay. There with just stars and less than, not less than or equal to for that. And then I can run this. And I can say I want 12 stars. I'll put 12 stars on the same line. Once you get that working, you want to try to print out a square. Now, one way to think about that is that you have this code here. If I just said, run this code, loop this code, run this 10 times, how would you run the same code 10 times? You would just put a loop around it, right? So even though this is a loop, you can just put another loop around it here. So I can do another loop. So again, I want to put a loop around this. So I can just do a for loop here. Start my brace, and then I want to move the end of the brace down here. And sometimes it's nice to do a little bit as far as formatting. I want to, in indenting, I want to indent this so that I can see this. Oops, I missed this. This should be a brace. Okay, there. What is it doing? Oh, I see. I've gone in the wrong. Oh, no. Okay. There. So here's my for loop here. And and it's repeating this stuff. So I'd have to say, what do I have to do to repeat this so many times with this? So you'll need another another variable to do that. But again, you want to do two for loops to do this, a for loop, and inside that for loop have another for loop. So see if you can get that to work. So again, if we entered 5 in here, we want to do this 5 times. So if I were to, enter 5, I'd want to print out 5 rows of 5 stars for this. Okay, so this is the last. Step 2 is as far as I'm going to take you with help here. So step 2, again, we're printing out this rect or square sort of stuff here. Oops. And I was printing out one line here, and I stuck that inside another loop. And this is called nested loop. So I have a for loop inside a for loop. And my outside loop is this prints out one line. So I'm going to have multiple lines. So I'm going to say print line equals 0, line less than max stars, line plus plus here. And inside there, I'm going to print out each loop. So I just added this. It's very similar to this loop. It's just, I need a different variable. I can't use the same variable again. I need 2 different counter variables. So this one is printing out each line. This is printing out each character in a line, or each star here. So I've got that set up. And then if I run this, how many stars? Like I want 4 stars. It'll print out each line will print out 4 stars, and this loop will do 4 stars in a row on the same line. And then I'll do a print line, and then I'll print out the next 4 loops. If you don't have this print line in here, it just keeps them all in one line. So if I say I want 4, it'll print 4, 4, 4, 4, 4, print out 16, but all on one line. So you do need to print out do a bunch of print, and then do a print line. So the print is in the for loop, and the print line is afterwards. So you can do that. I'm starting at 0 because later on we'll tend to always start our loops at 0, because when we work with lists and arrays, we'll want to start at 0. The first element will be element 0. But in this example, it may not be the best idea because you are counting. So just remember, instead of starting at 0 here, you could start at 1 here and 1 here. Now, in order to get this to work, if I do 1 and I say I want 4 stars, it's only doing 3 stars. So again, if I'm starting at 1, I should say less than or equal to here, so that, because I'll go 1, 2, 3, 4. I want to do 4 there, and that'll work. So you can start at 1 here, and that will work also. Okay. Now keep working on this next part. See if you can print out, rather than printing out 1 star, 2 star, 5 stars, 5 stars, 5 stars, 5 stars, 5 stars. We want to print out 1 star for the first line, 2 stars for the second line, 3 stars for the third line, 4 stars for the fourth line. So that gets complicated. So think of how you could do that. So rather than always printing out 5 stars here, we don't always want to print out 5 stars or whatever we enter. We want to print out, for the first line, we want to print out 1 star. For the second line, we want to print out 2 stars. When line is 3, we want to print out 3 stars. So think of how you might do that. Okay. I'll just warn you, this stuff's hard to do. You don't have to get through all of it, get as far as you can. For the discussion post, you want to print the solutions to one of these. So as you're going on, you might want, if you get to some point working, like I have the square working, you might want to just make a copy of this or comment it out or whatever. So I have it for later in case I want to post it to the discussion area for this. Getting step 3 gets hard. Step 4 and 4.5 gets hard, and they just build from there here. This used to be a problem last year when I taught the class. AI could not solve this problem here, but AI has gotten better now. So I was just testing it out. AI does come up with the solution, which I would come up with on this problem. So as of last year, you would be smarter than AI, but AI has gotten better at this. So AI can do this to solve this problem now. But this is not an easy thing to do with loops. It requires some thinking and trying, error, see if you can puzzle it out. So see how far you can get with this. And again, post any of these step solutions so we can see it along the way to the discussion. And again, you'll have to reply to other people's posts by Sunday night also. So that's our goal today. We'll give you one more hint here, especially when you get down to like places like here where you're trying to print off some X's and then some diamonds or some spaces and then some or stars there. The best structure for that is to have your loop to go through all your lines, but then rather than just having one loop for your stars, have 2 loops, a loop for your stars and a loop for your spaces here. So like in this other loop, maybe I print out some X's, or maybe I'll just do underlying characters so we can see what that looks like. So if I want to do 5, oops. Oh, except I don't want this print line here. Try again. I want 5 stars. So it is going to print out a bunch of spaces and then some stars. Right now it's printing underlines, and then some stars. But I can change that to just spaces here and run it. So it prints out spaces and then stars, for example. But you've got to get your loops to work so that you're not printing out the same number of spaces and stars. So I'll just a preview of what's to come in the future is we'll look at how to write little methods or functions here. So we could create, not something you should be doing here, but we could write a method called print stars here and print spaces. So up here in our loop, we could replace that by calling, let's say, print spaces. Oops. And say I want to print out 4 spaces. And then here I want to do print stars. Oops, still on. And say I want to do 4 stars or something like that. So eventually we'll learn how to do that sort of stuff and write these methods. That'll be next week. We'll revisit this problem. But for now, your best bet is to, again, just structure your code so it looks, so you're doing a for loop, and then you maybe print out a bunch of stars. And again, I actually find it useful to just print out underlines for now, or dashes, or X's, I think is what I did in the example, and then print out some of the stars. Okay.